Namaste, Sakshi, Telugu Prajala Mana Sakshi. Welcome to Special Immigration Show. Today we are back with our expert attorney Bhanu Babu Illindra, BBA Law Group PC, 17 years of experience in law offices. If you have any questions regarding immigration, feel free to call us. Our attorney will glad to answer your questions. So before we begin the show, please note that the information provided on this show not a legal advice, it's just for information purpose only. So Sakshi TV or its agents will not be responsible for this. If you need any specific legal advice, contact the attorney directly. And Bhanu garu unnaru. వెల్కమ్ చెప్పేద్దామా. హలో భాను గారు, వెల్కమ్ టు ది షో అండి.
Thank you, Andy. Thank you, Prasanna Garu. Yeah, thank you once again. Every week we do this, and I really appreciate for giving this opportunity to me, Andy, Sakshi TV.
థ్యాంక్ యూ భాను గారు. సో భాను గారు, మనం బిఫోర్ వి గెట్ ఇన్ టు ది టాపిక్, మీరు లా ఆఫీస్ ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ అండ్ ఆల్సో ప్రాక్టీస్ ఏరియాస్ గురించి మా వ్యూయర్స్ కి చెప్తారా?
Definitely, madam. And I'm sorry, ఇక్కడ కొద్ది లైటింగ్ ప్రాబ్లం ఉందండి నాకు. I'm sorry, I'm not in the, sorry for that. My name is Bhanu Illindra, and I'm an immigration attorney. I've been practicing immigration law in the US for more than 17 years now. And I represent in all types of immigration matters, and family-based immigration, employment-based immigration, EB-5 investor visas, basically, and any type of immigration, basically. Immigration issues we deal with, F1 students, student issues, the waivers, everything we deal with, Andy. And our firm name is BBI Law Group PC, Andy. I founded this firm in 2008. We're located in Herndon, Virginia, which is a Washington, D.C. suburbs. Our website is www.bbilawgroup.com. And our office number is 703-496-7722. Our email ID, my email ID is bhanu@bbilawgroup.com, Andy. If anybody, our viewers have any questions about their immigration issues or anything like that, they're welcome to send an email to me saying that they basically sending an email through the Sakshi TV, then we will be able to immediately take care of their responses and everything.
Yes, thanks for the info, Bhanu garu. So today we are going to talk about latest updates on immigration rules, right? So before we get into the topic, do we have any latest updates in this week, Bhanu garu?
Not much, Andy. Not much this week. We're hoping the next week will be the time where we will see updates about the visa bulletin for the month of August and everything. I think on Monday, we can not Monday, but sometime next week, I think we can expect the release of the visa bulletin for the month of August and see basically how the visa dates will move and everything, and see basically how many people will be able to take advantage of that from the people from India and everything. As of now, not much important updates from the USCIS where we have to really worry or get excited or anything like that. There's nothing much. If it comes to our Indian community people, it's very not so much happening in the past 1 week, Andy. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So what are the new immigration rules?
As I said, ma'am, the most important thing I think we discussed basically about the national interest exemption waiver gurinchi మనం మాట్లాడాము. People, because of the COVID-19 pandemic, people are stuck in India. People who wants to travel from India, they can't come directly to India because of the travel restrictions they have because of the COVID-19 pandemic. So if they want to come to US, either they have to get the national interest exemption or they have to qualify as an exempt individuals, basically, or they have to come through some other country where they'll be able to quarantine for at least 14 days. And from that country, they can come to US, basically, right? So the important is that we are seeing quite a few national interest exemptions waivers are being approved by the Department of State, basically, when we make proper requests to them, okay? Especially for the IT workers who are working in the critical infrastructure sector areas, basically, So they have to make sure that our locations ki basically basically వాళ్ళు ప్రాపర్ డాక్యుమెంటేషన్ తీసుకొని వాళ్ళు ప్రాపర్గా సబ్మిట్ చేస్తే వీఆర్ నాట్ సీయింగ్ ప్రాబ్లమ్ అండి. కానీ సమ్ పీపుల్ ఆర్ హరీయింగ్, డోంట్ నాట్ సబ్మిట్ ద డాక్యుమెంట్స్ hurriedly, basically make sure that you have all that information, apply to the Department of State, and then get the national interest exemption waiver, and then you come to the US. You should not have any problem, basically. Okay. So my advice will be everybody who's in India, if they're in H-1B visa or dependents of H-4, basically, try to get documentation from their employers and from the clients, basically, how what kind of a function that company actually essentially performs in the United States, and how critical his job is for that company, and why his or her physical presence in the US is very important on H-1B visa, basically. Okay, if they can document that through the national interest exemptions, I think they should not have any problem, basically. So this is very important thing which I want to tell, because we do not know how long this pandemic restrictions going to continue, because the government has not given any indication whether they're going to lift the travel restrictions for the people from India or not. Not yet, basically. There are a lot of speculations are happening. We heard some rumors on the forums and media and everything, but we haven't seen anything like that if it comes to the pandemic restrictions, basically. You know.
Right. So we are talking about latest and general immigration rules, right? So here is my question. So how long can an immigrant stay in US?
You mean to say there are two different things, ma'am? Immigrant is it's a legal term, basically. So we have to be very careful in how we use term immigrant, basically. Okay, immigrant means somebody who wants to permanently move to America, basically. So if somebody wants to move permanently to America, they're called immigrants, basically. But
Mhm.
people who wants to move temporarily to America for the purpose of either to study or to work or to do some other activity, basically, they're called non-immigrants, basically. Okay, so we have to be very careful in the terms what we use, immigrant and non-immigrant and everything in general sense, basically. Okay, when you use non-immigrants, basically, usually depending upon what category visa they have come, while a status determine అవుతుందండి. For example, if somebody comes on a visitor visa into this country, they can stay up to 6 months in this country. They can't stay more than 6 months, basically, right? If they come on H-1B visa, the maximum time they can stay in this country is up to 6 years, basically. If they come as a student, they can stay in this country as long as they're actually pursuing their education as a full-time student in this country, basically. That's what F1 visa is all about. And L1 visa వచ్చేప్పటికి L1 లో ఏ type of visa వచ్చారు వాళ్ళు, L1A, L1B, all those things will come into existence. If you do L1A, the maximum one person can stay on L1 visa is 7 years, basically. L1B at 5 years. So depending upon category of non-immigrant visa they're coming in this country, వాళ్ళ స్టేటస్ ఒక డిటర్మిన్ అవుతుంది. ఒకవేళ ఇమిగ్రెంట్కి ఎవరైనా వచ్చారంటే, ఇమిగ్రెంట్గా వచ్చే వాళ్ళు ఎవరంటే బేసికలీ అసైలీస్ కానివ్వండి, రెఫ్యూజీస్ కానివ్వండి, గ్రీన్ కార్డు అడ్జస్ట్మెంట్ ఆఫ్ స్టేటస్ కోసం ఇక్కడ వచ్చిన వాళ్ళు కానివ్వండి, ఫియాన్సెస్ ఆఫ్ యుఎస్ సిటిజన్స్ కానివ్వండి, పెళ్లి చేసుకోవడానికి వస్తారు యుఎస్ సిటిజన్స్కి, ఆర్ డిపెండెన్స్ ఆఫ్ ది యుఎస్ సిటిజన్స్, బేసికలీ వీళ్ళందరూ ఇమిగ్రెంట్స్ అనమాట, బేసికలీ. అంటే వాళ్ళు పర్మనెంట్ గా ఇక్కడ ఉండడానికి వస్తున్నారు వాళ్ళు, బేసికలీ. సో వాళ్ళకేమి ఒక టైం అనేది ఉండదు. దే ఆర్ కమింగ్ టు స్టే ఇన్ దిస్ కంట్రీ permanently in this country to establish the residence and everything అనమాట. That's what immigrants means. Immigrants కి నాన్ ఇమిగ్రెంట్స్ కి తేడా అది, బేసికలీ.
Right. Thank you, Bhanu garu. So it's time for a small announcement, and if you have any questions and if you need any immigration services, you can contact Bhanu garu through phone number 7034967722, and firm name is BPI Law Group, and email is bhanu@bpilawgroup.com. Website is www.bpilawgroup.com. He is always ready to help you guys. So Bhanu gariki happy ga call cheseyochu meeku elanti immigration doubts unna sare. And so Bhanu garu can travel internationally while an LPR. Is that possible?
Yes, absolutely. LPR means legal permanent resident అండి, బేసికలీ. దట్ మీన్స్ ది మనము సింపుల్ గా గ్రీన్ కార్డ్ హోల్డర్ అంటాం నార్మల్ లాంగ్వేజ్ లో, బేసికలీ ఎల్పిఆర్ అంటే. ఓకే, అండ్ వాళ్ళు దే కెన్ ట్రావెల్ అబ్రాడ్, బేసికలీ వాళ్ళ ఎల్పిఆర్ స్పెండింగ్. బట్ ద ట్రావెల్ మస్ట్ బి టెంపరరీ ఇన్ నేచర్. దట్ మీన్స్ దే స్టిల్ కంటిన్యూ మెయింటైనింగ్ ద పర్మనెంట్ రెసిడెన్స్ ఇన్ ది యుఎస్. వాళ్ళ ఇల్లు, ఫ్యామిలీ అంతా యుఎస్ లోనే ఉంటుంది. బట్ వాళ్ళు టెంపరీ పర్పసెస్ కోసం, లైక్ విజిటింగ్ పర్పసెస్ కానివ్వండి, లేకపోతే టెంపరీ జాబ్ పర్పసెస్ కానివ్వండి, ఏదైనా టెంపరీ పర్పసెస్ కి దే కెన్ ట్రావెల్ అబ్రాడ్ అండ్ దే కెన్ కమ్ బ్యాక్ ఎనీ టైమ్. Of course, they have to meet the requirements for the admission at the time they're coming in. Even if they're permanent residents, basically, they're also subject to the same kind of admission requirements, basically, like every other person. But usually, it's very easy for them to come back. So, legal permanent residents, LPRs, yes, they can travel and they can come without any problem, as long as the nature of the travel is temporary, basically.
Okay. So Bhanu garu, why is USCIS implementing visa availability approach?
As I said, ma'am, in మనము ప్రీవియస్ షోస్ లో దీని గురించి డిస్కస్ చేసాం లెంత్గా, బట్ ఐ థింక్ ఇట్స్ వెరీ ఇంపార్టెంట్ టాపిక్. పీపుల్ కి క్లారిటీ కోసం మనం మళ్ళీ we like to discuss this thing quite a few times, and it's very important for them to understand. వీసా నెంబర్స్ అవైలబిలిటీ అనేది depending upon how many visas are being issued per month basis, basically in a year, అవి ఇచ్చిన తర్వాత ఎన్ని వీసాస్ అవైలబుల్ ఉంటాయి దాన్ని బట్టి వీసా నెంబర్స్ అవైలబుల్ ఉంటాయి మిగతా వాళ్ళందరికీ. సో బికాస్ ఆఫ్ ద కోవిడ్-19 పాండమిక్ ఏమైతుందంటే అండి, ఈ యొక్క గ్రీన్ కార్డులు చాలా మందికి ఇంకా గవర్నమెంట్ ఇవ్వడం లేదు. ఎందుకంటే పాండమిక్ మూలంగా అక్రాస్ ద వరల్డ్ ది కాన్సులేట్స్ ఆర్ స్టిల్ క్లోజ్డ్ బేసికలీ. దే వర్ స్టిల్ షట్ డౌన్. దే ఆర్ నాట్ ఓపెన్ yet basically. Because they are not open, they are not issuing the green cards for many individuals on the family-based category anamata. Same thing with the employment-based category also. And even USCIS is not fully functioning completely in the US yet. Therefore, many employment-based category adjustment of status applications are also not being adjudicated as fast as possible by the USCIS. Because of that, they're not utilizing the entire visa numbers that can be utilized for the particular year, fiscal year, basically. And therefore, they have an excessive visas are available, visa numbers are being moved forward. Especially, what the law says is that employment family-based category law, if they do not use those visas, basically, then they can actually have to allocate those visas in the next fiscal year to the employment-based category anamata. That's required by law. Therefore, that's what they have done for the fiscal year 2020 and fiscal year 2021. And that's why what happened is we got excessive 140,000 visas of family-based categories allotted to the employment-based. Therefore, with normal 140,000 visas contain 140 add ayi, now we got around 280,000 visas available for the employment-based category. Because of that, dates are moving very fast, very forward for the employment-based category right now. And the expected 150,000 family-based category visas will be allocated to the employment-based category for fiscal year 2022, which starts on October 1, 2021. So this trend is going to continue for the Indian nationals quite a lot. It's actually a good thing because there are hundreds of thousands of people are waiting in line from India for several years. Some people are waiting for 10 years, 11 years now. So it's a good thing that most of them will be able to get the green card very soon, probably in a few months or probably within a year, basically. So that's a very good sign, Andy, for Indian nationals, basically.
Okay. So, Bhanugar, I have a question regarding F1 visa. So, if an F1 student with DS status does unauthorized work, what is the process of cancelling his or her status?
Okay. If basically the formal process will not be there. If somebody violates the status, unless they get caught, there is no formal process in violation of the status. But what the law says is that if they actually involve in any unauthorized activity, like for example, F1 student cannot work beyond 20 hours a week on campus while he's pursuing his education unless he have a permission from the USCIS to work off campus, basically. Okay. And if they work off campus unauthorized, then that results automatically them being out of status, basically. Okay. But however, F1 students ప్రొడక్షన్ ఉంది బేసికలీ కంపేర్డ్ విత్ H1Bs కానీ H4s కానీ ప్రొడక్షన్ ఉంది. ఏంటంటే వాళ్ళు అవుట్ ఆఫ్ స్టేటస్ అయినా కూడా దే డోంట్ అక్రూ అన్లాఫుల్ ప్రెజెన్స్. There are two difference అండి. Unlawful presence accrual is different from being out of status anamata. Legally, they both are two different basically. Okay, so they don't accrue unlawful presence anamata. Important in the day, if they accrue unlawful presence basically, then they'll have a restrictions to come to get a visa abroad and coming back to US if they leave the country anamata. బార్లు ఉంటాయి వాళ్ళకి. అదే అన్లాఫుల్ అవుట్ ఆఫ్ స్టేటస్ అనుకోండి, అట్లాంటి బార్స్ ఏమి ఉండవు. వాళ్ళు మళ్ళీ అబ్రాడ్ వెళ్ళిపోయి ఇమీడియట్ గా వీసా అప్లై చేసుకొని మళ్ళీ ఫ్రెష్ అడ్మిషన్ తీసుకొని రావచ్చు అమెరికాకి బేసికలీ. బట్ దే నీడ్ టు షో వై దే బికమ్ అవుట్ ఆఫ్ స్టేటస్, వై ఇట్ వాస్ డిఫికల్ట్ ఫర్ దెమ్, why it was out of their control to maintain legal status and everything. They can document that. So F1 students కి ఆ ప్రొటెక్షన్ ఉంటుంది. కానీ they will start accruing unlawful presence if the USCIS determines that this individual is out of status, or if they're placed in the removal proceedings, if the immigration judge determines that is out of status basically, then they will start accruing unlawful presence in the US basically. So that is the difference basically. So the time you do an act for which you are not authorized to do in this country, you are automatically out of status in this country, whether it's an F1, whether it's an H1, whether it's an H4, whoever it is basically. If the person comes on a particular visa for a particular purpose, and if the person does anything other than that, that automatically results in the violation of their status in this country and matter.
Right. Thank you, Bhanugar. We have a caller from Sai from California. Sai, please go on. Hello, Sai. Sai, can you hear me?
Yes,
Hello.
I'm able to hear you.
Yes,
Yeah.
Sai, please go on.
Hi, Bhanu. I have one question for you. Can we request NIE for parents on B1, B2 to travel from India to USA? Uh,
You can, if you can show that they qualify for NIE on a humanitarian considerations. Basically, if there is any family emergency, like somebody is serious in the family, or somebody is uh, some death happened, or some kind of a tragedy happened, which is very serious in nature, like somebody involved in an accident, or somebody got hurt, or anything like that. Definitely, under the humanitarian considerations, they can apply for the NIE, but you have to
Actually,
document the
i-
consulates properly, basically.
okay, in my case, my wife is pregnant. Can I present that request in the email when I send it to the embassy?
There is nothing wrong in presenting any information to the embassy, saying that your wife is a pregnant, so she needs the support in the US. They pay our parents and everything. But I don't think it is so compelling in nature where I think Department of State will approve NIE for that. But if she has a complications through pregnancy with her health and everything, and therefore the risk is very high for her in this country, and she needs a care and help basically because of the pregnancy, and if you can document those complaints, those complications with the pregnancy in this country, and if you can get a document such documents from the doctors and everything, and if you submit them to the consulate, probably yes, that can qualify under the humanitarian considerations for NIE. See, some people will have lot of complications with the pregnancy, like gestational diabetes, high blood pressure, లేకపోతే there will be some other complications with the intestines, local tubes లో చాలా ప్రాబ్లమ్స్ వస్తాయి వాళ్ళకి బేసికలీ సో అట్లాంటి
Yeah.
కాంప్లెక్సిటీస్ ఉన్నప్పుడు there is high risk for them during the delivery, so they want somebody in the family to be present along with the person who is actually going for the delivery, you know so if they
Yeah.
can present those kind of an evidence, basically those kind of a documentation from the doctors, and if they can actually document that and provide them how important for her parents to be present in this country so that she can go through that delivery process or any operation or anything that she has to go through for the delivery of the babies and everything during a pregnancy. I think it's really helpful for them to get the visa. As I said, the documentation has to be very clear. The letter from the doctors has to explain exactly what is the conditions she is going through and everything, and why she needs her parents to be physically present in the US while she is pregnant.
Okay. Thank you so much, Bhanu.
Right. Thanks for
Yeah.
calling in. Yeah. So, Bhanu garu, what is a 10-year cancellation? I mean, who is eligible for that?
10-year cancellation అంటే ఏంటది నాకు అర్థం కాలేదు. ఒక్కసారి మళ్ళీ క్వశ్చన్ చెప్తారా? You're talking about the waiver or
Yes, I'm talking about general immigration rules. Who is eligible for 10-year cancellation? How long is the process?
అంటే క్వశ్చన్ నాకు ఇప్పటికీ క్లారిటీ లేదండి. 10-year, are you asking about the waiver of cancellation, basically cancellation of waiver basically,
Yeah. Yes,
or
yes.
అంటే unlawfully presents 10-year bar cancellation waiver అది అంటున్నారా basically? Okay. Uh, Usually for that you need to show the family ties to the US and okay.
Mhm.
If you have a US citizen children, or you have a US citizen spouse, or a permanent resident spouse, or a permanent resident children in this country, and then basically we need to show that there is an exceptional and extraordinary circumstances basically that will result in financial and severe hardship to the family who are basically either permanent residents or citizens of the United States. And if you can document that, most likely you may be eligible for the waiver to cancel your 10-year bar to come into this country if you're found in violation of your status in the past, or for a waive, or found in violation, or presenting any misrepresentation or a fraud in the to obtain a visa. Those waivers can be obtained based upon that. And there's a really separate topics, and because there are different types of waivers are available, 212V waiver and 601 waiver and all those things. Basically, I will be love to talk to individual if anybody has those questions and everything, or we can do a separate show on this. Why don't we do the show on this
Yes,
next week?
yes, sure.
Let's do a show on the waivers next week. Basically, we will talk the various scenarios, basically under what scenarios people will be subject to the bars, and how they can actually apply for the waivers, what is required to be done and everything. Let's do next week that show on that, and then we'll discuss in detail so that people who are stuck in India because of some unknown mistake they have done. Basically, sometimes they use the consultant companies, consultancies, and everything to get the paperwork done. They have no idea exactly what they're applying for. They were found fraud or misapplication on those things, and they get stuck in India. They can't come back because of that in the US. So we can actually discuss those things in detail. There are so many people, unfortunately, sometimes without their own mistake, basically get into this web and they can't come to the US basically and pursue their or help their stay with their family or pursue their American dream, whatever it is. I think that show will really help them if we do that. And I'm very happy to do in the next week show or whenever the Sakshi TV wants me to do that show. That issue basically we'll separately do one segment on that today. I think that's a very good thing to do.
Yeah, definitely. So, Bhanugar, do you have any idea? I mean, travel ban ఎప్పుడు లిఫ్ట్ చేస్తారు, థింగ్స్ అన్ని ఎప్పుడు సెటిల్ అవుతాయి? Do you have any idea?
To be honest with you, no, Andy. If anybody tells also they don't have an idea, I'm not sure exactly. They may have a good sources in the government. That's how they may know it. But unfortunately, my information is whatever is available for me as an attorney. I'm not hearing anything else from the government yet about removing the travel restrictions because of the COVID-19 pandemic, especially with the Delta variant coming into existence right now. And now they're worried about Delta plus variant also coming into the US. And they wanted to make sure that the curbing that variant is very, very important issue right now. Otherwise, the cases can spike again in the US. Right now, 50% of the states have been reopened basically, and everybody is actually moving freely across the country. I was able to travel to Houston a couple of weeks ago, and I was able to travel to Boston also a couple of weeks ago because of the country is opening up right now because of the 50% of the population have been fully vaccinated, So
We have a small announcement. If you have any legal immigration questions and if you need any specific legal advice, you can contact Bhanu Garu through phone number 7034967722 and firm name is PPI Law Group and email is bhanu@ppilawgroup.com and website is www.ppilawgroup.com for any legal immigration services. And if you need any specific legal advice, you can contact Bhanu Garu through these phone numbers and also email. And I think that's all for now. And next week, marini questions to and marini topics to discuss cheddam. Stay tuned to Sakshi Telugu Prajala Mana Sakshi.